Okay, we are back on the record. We are going to begin with the public comment cards that I have here. As I said, there's only one opportunity to speak. So if you could please make the most of your time at the podium. Be sure to ask any questions that you may have. We'll be making a note of those, as I said. And I noticed a few folks came in after I administered the oath this morning. So if you were not here when I administered the oath, please let me know that so I can have you properly sworn in before you begin your testimony. The first card that I have is for Glenn Dias. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, Glenn Dias for the record. I'd just like to state that, every time a developer comes into town, they want to circumvent the system, so to say. If they want that type of building, why don't they go to the area in the town that wants that kind of building instead of bringing it out to the area that the last piece of rural area we have in Lee County to build that kind of system, that kind of thing out there. If we wanted that, we would live in an area like that. We don't want that, so why would, and to say that they're going to build all that and it's not going to impact the outside area, traffic, water flow, the wildlife, it's all going to be impacted. It's impacting it now with the things we have up to the north, Babcock, which is not in Lee County yet. Well, a little bit is, but it's already impacting us hugely. And now you're talking about this other road they're going to bring in there, and it's going to be right turn only to go south. That's just idiotic, the way I see it. It doesn't work for our community. And you got this many people against it, that's showing up against it. It should be a no-brainer to say, let's go back to the table. I'm not saying don't let them build something, but build what we're needing in that community or what we were looking for in that community. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today, sir. Could I ask staff or someone, can you put up an aerial or a site plan or something on the screen just so folks can reference it if they need to? Thank you. Thank you. All right, the next card I have is for Grant Fighter. Okay. Is there a capability on that? Could staff assist?
How do I get to that PowerPoint?
It's right here. I think those are your three.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Examiner. Thank you for your time. My name is Grant Fichter, 17281 North River Road, Alva, Florida. I'm also speaking today as the president of Alva Inc., a community organization in the Alva and Northeast Lee County area. I brought some slides today just to try to project or better present my position on some of these items and my analysis of them. It seems that as we look at this, in my mind, and of course, I'm not an expert in planning, but I can read. I have logic. I'm a professional surveyor and mapper, so I have professional experience in a lot of areas, certainly with law and analysis of law and interpretations of legal language. And it seems to me that increasing density to this extent in this area is at odds with the Lee Plan. Now, I know there's been Lee Plan amendments, and I know there's policies that have allowed us to kind of, I would say, thread the needle on what's acceptable and what's not. But in this specific area, as it relates to the rural land designation, and I have an outline, somewhat crude outline of the property here, overlaid on the rural or the future land use map, showing it as rural. And then, in Table 1A of the Lee County policy, it clearly states that in rural land use areas, there is no bonus density. Now, there's an asterisk, or there's a reference to other parts of the code, which if this is what you do for a living, you can find a way, to make the math work and to justify this. But I'm going to go at it from a layman's terms and say, Doesn't look like we're allowed for any bonus density. But let's go along with the idea that based on policy one or two, I don't think that policy's number is quite correct actually, but 123.2.17, which was referenced in the applicant's presentation, is allowing them to increase the density based on the rare and unique habitat and other things that they're doing to allow that. So I want to get some clarification, or at least make the statement for your consideration, that it appears that we're starting with 1 unit per acre, right now, currently as it is, with 788 acres in play. 70.31 of those acres are wetlands, which right now, under the land use code, is only 1 unit per 20 acres. So when you take that out of the equation, you're leaving yourself with somewhere around 648 acres at 1 unit per acre, and then the 3.5 per unit on the wetland areas, totaling 651.86 units under the current guidelines if we were to go out there and break ground today. So as I mentioned, the creation of the unique habitat and wetland restoration is affording the applicant an additional, what it appears to be 193 dwellings under this interpretation of the land development code. The overall calculation density, based on my math, is right in the range of 40%. So I'm here just to state simply that with a 40% or more increase in density from what was initially allowed and permitted at this time, we're almost doubling the amount of homes that were allowed to be built in that area. The way these policies are being interpreted are creating more and more urban sprawl and damaging far more natural habitat than anticipated. And I think if we look at the Lee plan, urban sprawl is exactly why that document was one of the primary reasons that document was created, to prevent this. So very simply, at the end of this presentation, and I have others, I would just ask that we honor the rural land use plan and its goals, and make sure that we're weighing not just the with the favoring the development to the maximum increase density, but that there is some balance in how this plays out. I mean, the reality is, my family's been out there for generations, one of the founding families of this area. A lot of developers have come out there and developed land at 1 unit per acre with the setbacks, with the green space. They've done it all the right way. None of us could argue it. It's 1 unit per acre. You got 500 acres, you got 500 units. You've left green space, you've followed the code. Everyone else prior has had to walk through those same doors. So to me, it feels like we're making an exception in an area which is obviously very sensitive, and as Glenn stated, one of the most sensitive and rural areas we have left. While I think that I can't speak for everyone, if the applicant said we're gonna cluster our homes, we're gonna preserve what we said we're gonna preserve, and we're gonna put 788 units in there, we'd have a red carpet and roll it out for them. And I know that based on that statement, it comes down to economics for the applicant, and I understand that. I'm not driven by economics, so I can't rationalize that. Let's see here. The next thing, I don't know, maybe because we have staff here, maybe you guys can summarize this for me after. I have as I said, just some logic here that I've put together. I want to know, when it comes to the wells that will be used for irrigation, probably in the sandstone aquifer, and I understand that the well field protection area is in that area as well, and it's likely in the upper Hawthorne aquifer. There's a lot of things that aren't allowed in the well field protection area, one of them being petroleum tanks. Now, petroleum tanks they're more closer to the shallow aquifer, so why would we, if we're not worried about surface or shallow aquifer penetration or contamination getting into the lower aquifer, why would we prohibit fuel tanks? So there must be a connection. Logically, there's a connection. So I see the same connection with taking these wells that we're going to put in to fill up the lakes, to spray irrigation on 1,099 home sites. While I heard some very good calculations and some great information on how that's going to be dispersed, and to the extent it's being reduced as much as possible, it's still happening. It's going to happen, right? So with that, is there a danger for adjoining wells and current people that are all on well systems out there right now? Is their drawdown going to be so significant because of this that now we have to do different wells, re-drill wells, change wells, lower pumps, those sort of things? That's something that area the county hasn't had to deal with because of the proper land management. Now, this is an image of where the wellfield protection zone is located based on my research. As you can see, it follows basically North River Road as the center line of it or the spine of it, and then it extends north and south of that area, with some of the area being on the subject property. With this, my concern is if we're worried about fuel tanks being in it, if there's some concern about contamination, wouldn't we be just as concerned about pushing a sewer line through the heart of that? Now, I'm sure there's someone in the room that's way smarter than I am when it comes to that, but again, I'm just using simple logic. So that was one thing I thought might be worth mentioning if from the staff or one of the applicant's representatives could clarify how that is rationalized, I would appreciate it. And then finally, having been out there all my life, having seen the area change, we've had a lot of subdivisions come into the area. Some of them, I'm afraid I'm missing a slide here, but I'm going to go verbal on this. All of them, as I said previously, have followed that 1 acre per unit rule. All of them. I've got a list of them here. And they go back, I can tell you, Alex Longo, one of the first subdivisions in Lee County platted records. It was still a 1 acre plus subdivision. Telegraph Creek, Alex Longo, Riverwind Cove, North River Estates, North River Oaks, Serengeti, Tyndall subdivision, all in the North Olga planning community, all 1 acre plus subdivisions. All developers looking for profit and capitalizing on that within the guidelines they had. Now, I know that the guidelines have been adjusted and amended and changed, but I feel like we're threading a needle here. I don't feel like it's clearly in the LEAP plan that we clearly are allowing this for these specific reasons. And to take what is currently of pasture or habitat and turn it and change it and plant it and tell me it's rare and unique, what's sitting there right now is rare and unique in the eyes of the community and in the eyes of anyone really that knows the area. So my point here being that I feel like because so many of the previous landowners have had to live by this set of rules, that it's only natural that certainly a developer that doesn't live in the area, to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, to come in and capitalize on our community to the extent that he is, at our expense. I do believe in private property rights. I believe if I want to build a fence, I got to go ask the county. So private property rights end right where the land development code begins. I hear a lot of talk. We go just briefly mention private property rights, how important they are, and how that is the mountain we stand on to allow anyone to do anything with their property. But I can tell you right now, if you go build a structure on your property without a permit, the county's going to let you know about it. You're going to have violated some law. So it isn't as if because we own the property, we get to do whatever it is we want. And I want to dispel that narrative that's been utilized numerous times to, I think, diminish the message of the community in East Lee County and Alva that isn't necessarily centered around profit and financial success. There's much more morally that's important in the world than those items. So I think in closing, I would like to mention transportation just briefly. I know you can't weigh in on it and it doesn't matter, right? But right now there's a 1 mile backup getting onto State Road 31 from North River Road. If you had 3,000 or 2,000 or 1,099 plus 2.5 vehicles plus 3,250 new people, it is going to be a parking lot from there to the community. There's no doubt about it. And a turn lane's not going to fix it. A widening there isn't going to fix it. It also should be noted, and there's a comparison that, how do we relate this to adjoining communities? Well, on the north side of the road, we have something slated as a new community. It's in North Olga, but it totally rewrote what the North Olga plan would be on that side of the road. So that doesn't apply in my mind. You can't compare something that's completely rezoned, new community, Babcock, an anomaly that's supposed to be a self-sustaining city that isn't supposed to need outside services, and we're going to take that and now compare it to what we're doing here. And then to add to that, I believe Babcock Ranch has left us a 1,300-foot or so buffer to protect the natural heritage and the North River Road corridor. So I wanted to make that mention. To the east of it is another subdivision that had to go through the process of 1 unit per acre, using the same land development codes we're using right now. Was approved, no community pushback, none whatsoever. What's going to happen when this is approved? That developer is going to go, or that owner, I can almost guarantee is going to go back and say, I would like to change mine too. And everything going east from there that's been already subdivided, already platted, already decided on, that hasn't been built is going to go back. And this is going to set precedents for that density increase. So that concerns me tremendously. I would like to respectfully ask that you just take all these things into consideration. I know your job is not an easy one. I know the law is the law. I understand it. I just couldn't, as a citizen and someone who represents this community and as a fifth-generation Alva resident, let this process go through without my voice being heard. So thank you for the venue and the opportunity to do so.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And just, I didn't make the note at the beginning, but we don't allow any kind of applause or indications. I know everyone's very excited, and you're going to have your turn to speak, but just out of respect for everybody and all the speakers. The next one I have is for Cheryl Fisher. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Cheryl Fisher. I am actually a member of the Buckingham Community Preserve Association, and we also support Alva as they support us in trying to keep our areas rural. One of the things I want to start off with is Neal Communities. What I thought was ironic is their slogan is "Where you live matters." Well, where we live in rural areas matters to us. The area is not just a piece of land; it's a vital part of the community heritage and natural environment. It provides a sanctuary for wildlife, a space for agriculture, and a place where residents can enjoy the tranquility and beauty of nature. Developing this land would irreversibly alter its character and deprive future generations of these invaluable resources. The major environmental concerns must not be overlooked. The construction and subsequent urbanization would lead to habitat destruction, possible flooding of nearby lands, increased pollution, and strain on our already struggling water resources. You all must consider the long-term environmental impact and prioritize sustainable development practices. I have questions about, are the wells going to go dry? I live in Buckingham. When they built Veranda, a lot of our wells went dry. How are they going to ensure that the wells do not go dry of the residents, which are all wells around Alva area? My next one is water runoff. How are you going to ensure that the polluted water does not flow into the Caloosahatchee and already affect an already troubled body of water with all the nutrients? Another big one, the gopher tortoises. I noticed on that little map, there were 1 million dots, and I guarantee you most of those are gopher tortoise holes. Developers have a, I don't know if they've got this right, but they just bulldoze everything. I would like to know who is going to document those holes and save those. I just recently read that they figure in 100 years, 75% of the gopher tortoises will be gone because of development. Because FWC is not doing a whole lot to protect them, I can assure you that, because I've called. They show up 2 days later when they're already gone. So I would like to know for sure who's going to watch that, because it's expensive to move a gopher tortoise or to build around it. So with all those dots, there were a lot of dots. I would really like to know who's going to document that. And just in all, rural areas are important to us for a reason. And we don't want, as he just said to me when I was filling out a form, build more houses. No, we don't want to build more houses in the rural area. And I just think the arrogance of this sometimes really gets the people, because the thing out there says representing the citizens of Lee County. We're not being represented, the developers are being represented, and something needs to be fixed here. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today. I'm sorry, ma'am. Ms. Fisher? She's coming back up.
Can you tell me how far from the subject property you live approximately? I live in Buckingham. I drive by there every day. I ride my motorcycle down there all the time. So I sell property. I'm a realtor. So. Do you know approximately how far? No, I don't know the exact, a few miles.
Can we put the map back up, Dirk?
No, I'm not. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next card. The next card that I have is for Don Tate. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you for the time and your hard work on evaluating this. I started out with a pre-written speech, and since the goings on this morning, none of it's valid anymore. So I'm going to talk about what's important as far as the idea that setting a precedent is invaluable. Because once this water and sewer's in, he's going to march right down the road, right to my front doorstep. I moved in 3 years ago. I live at River Chase Court, right in Riverwind Cove community. My house is right adjacent to North River Road. When I first moved in, it was an idyllic, lazy, two-lane country road, which almost overnight turned into a super highway with trucks running up the Babcock Ranch. We have gotten caught with our pants down with this Babcock Ranch development. You've not only infrastructure that's in the planning, and we've got a bridge down there that's woefully inadequate. You've got 2 exits to get out of there as far as Bayshore Road and going down to Palm Beach. There's no way that this stuff's going to catch up. Once you cut him loose, he's going to build that thing overnight. He's got all the procurement for every piece of construction necessary sitting right there in a building right now to come down there and throw those things up. And I don't think that league plan was designed for barrack housing. We've just got so much infrastructure that's woefully behind just for us now. I have a fire suppression system in my house because I have to have it because the fire department's 8 miles away from my home. Okay, so that proves already it's inadequate, and now we're going to dump all these extra people on it, not to mention pollution and so forth. So I just think that we need to pump the brakes a little bit on this as far as the density goes. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know how much clout you have. He seems to have been able to steamroll to the commissioners pretty readily, get what he wants. So obviously something's going to happen, but maybe we can at least go back and look at it and get it in a more reasonable fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today, sir. The next card I have is for Keith Cary. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time this afternoon. My name is Keith Cary. I'm a member of the Cary+Duke Properties, LLC. We own one of the parcels that are under consideration today. My family partnership holds the property for the 22 adult descendants of J.C. Duke, who is my great-grandfather. We have owned and operated the Shady Rest Ranch for close to 100 years in the North Olga community. I stand before you today as the voice for all of our family members. Selling the property is not easy for anyone. Our family has wrestled with this difficult decision, and we have sought to make the best decision for our family members and for the community. It is no longer economically feasible to operate this property as a cattle ranch. Plus, our family has grown so large that we have different interests other than cattle. When faced with this reality, we came together and looked at options. We decided not to pursue developing the property into 788 individual ranchettes, each with its own septic tank and water well. We instead settled on the option that retains 473 acres, or 60% of the property, as undeveloped open space. Of that acreage, 423 acres will be native habitat preserve under a permanent conservation easement. We do not believe that septic systems and wells are best for the community or the Caloosahatchee River. Even though our family has deep roots in North Olga, we all have to face the reality that the character of the State Road 31 corridor has already been changed with the opening of the town of Babcock Ranch. State Road 31 will soon be a 4-lane highway, and Babcock is now selling homes in the Lee County side of the community. Our property is only 1 mile east of State Road 31. Downtown Alva is 12 miles east of this property. Babcock Ranch is literally across the street from our parcel. Our ranch property is far from pristine, as you have heard from the experts today. It has been logged for timber. Its trees have been used for naval stores such as pitch, tar, and turpentine. I can take you to trees on the property that still have the turpentine scars. We have had massive amounts of river spoil dumped on our pastures by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in the 60s. We feel that by partnering with Neal Communities, we are bringing this property back in many areas to the original state, as you've heard today. 60% open space, permanent conservation easements, removal of exotics, which have ravaged the entire property, and ample boundary buffers. If this property is going to be developed, which it will be, this is the correct and proper way to do the development and to have it occur. On behalf of the Cary and Duke families, we ask for your approval of this rezoning request. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today. The next card I have is for Stephen Brodkin. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Brodkin. I'm with the Concerned Citizens of Bayshore Community. I'm Vice President and Secretary of that group, and I'm here representing that group. We have an interest in this proposed development. Bayshore lies along 31, immediately west of 31, and goes over to I-75. We have very similar concerns as Alva Group does. We try to support each other. We're very concerned about Bayshore Road traffic. The PD&E that they're working on for Bayshore Road for, I think it's been almost 2 years now. They say they're working on it, but they have nothing approved yet, and it's many, many years before anything will actually happen there. The southern section of 31 also doesn't have, as far as I understand it, an approved PD&E yet, and they're still working on that one. So nothing's going to happen with those portions of the roadway too soon. We're opposed to the rezoning in its current form. The goals and objectives in the Lee Plan for North Olga desire to maintain the rural character of the community. Like Goal 27 talks about maintain, enhance, and support the heritage and rural character. Goal 29 talks about promote and support the unique rural character. Objective 29.1 talks about protect and enhance the rural character of the North Olga planning area. And if you'd follow me for a moment, this might not seem totally relevant at first, but I'll connect it. When the county was considering River Hall's 2012 Lee Plan amendment to reclassify from rural to sub-outlying suburban, some county commissioners visited and viewed a portion of the development already developed within the rural land use category, and that was developed at 1 dwelling unit per acre. These lots in the River Hall Country Club were 55 to 85 feet wide and were about 11,000 to 13,000 square feet. At a commission meeting, the commissioners deemed the development as a non-rural community. According to the news press article at the time, the developer and county attorney, Richard Wesch's office, said they think the area is suburban. So they're saying that an area with 11,000 to 13,000 square foot lots that are 55 to 85 foot wide, they're deeming as suburban. So now the Cary+Duke+Povia application requesting 1.4 dwelling units per acre with 40-foot wide lots and 4,000 square foot, like a third the size. The applicant is trying to claim that their plan protects and enhances the rural character of the North Olga community. And we say that their plans clearly have a suburban character and not a rural character. This would be the most dense ever in the rural land use category, if approved, and the most dense in North Olga, if approved in the rural land use category. So at Babcock, they allow 1 unit per 2.5 acres, considering the whole property way less dense. Owl Creek was approved for about 1.1 dwelling units per acre. We believe that should not have been done because most of that property is within the coastal high hazard area, and increasing the density there just didn't make sense to us, but that's what they did. The developer can develop the land at a lower density consistent with the rural character of the community. According to the Lee County MPO, there are no plans to widen County Road 78, North River Road. They have no plans. On the staff report, it predicts by not much after 2030, less than 6 years from now, the west and middle access sites to development will be operating at LOSF. Yet the conclusion in the staff report is the proposed project is not anticipated to adversely affect the surrounding roadway network. We don't understand where that conclusion comes from. If within 6 years, that could be operating at level F. Policy 2.2.1 states, rezoning and DRI proposals will be evaluated as to the availability and proximity of the road network, central sewer water lines, community facilities and services such as schools, EMS, fire, police protection, and other facilities compatible with surrounding land uses, and any other relevant facts affecting the public health, safety, and welfare. So clearly to us, the access points operating in a LOSF, possibly within 6 years, will slow EMS, fire, police response times, and is not consistent with protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the community as required in Policy 2.2.1. Another point. Most of the western pod of this proposed development lies in the coastal high hazard area. We question, as with Owl Creek, should we be increasing residential density within the coastal high hazard area? We say it doesn't make sense. Also, Lee Plan policies 125.1.2, 125.1.4 address water quality for new development. Policy 126.1.4 addresses groundwater levels. And I could read those policies, but you're probably aware of them. So one question is, how are they cleaning the water? They're talking about water cleaning in the lakes. From my experience when you see all these subdivisions, the lawns are lush and green, the foliage all looks great. Lush and green takes a lot of fertilizer and pesticides to achieve that in Southwest Florida, between our poor soils and our climate that encourages a lot of insects and diseases. So I see a lot of developments where they have like filter marshes, which supposedly removes a lot of this. We question whether these lakes in them themselves are going to be enough. Staff recommends a condition requiring monitoring for 5 years. What happens after that? In the future, shouldn't the development be responsible for any negative impacts to water quality and groundwater levels if those problems should occur? Shouldn't there be monitoring beyond 5 years? we have a problem with that. There's another condition by staff that says, prior to the issuance of the first development order, a monitoring schedule must be established to ensure all preserve enhancement, restoration, and creation is completed and demonstrates 80% survivability within 5 consecutive years. Monitoring will be required until 80% survivability is achieved. So after 5 years, if the preserve enhancement, restoration, and creation is achieved to qualify for policy 123.2.17, after that, what happens if, say, a hurricane or other natural or man-made disaster significantly damages the rare and unique habitat preserve? Does it have to be reestablished? If so, to what level? Who will be responsible for that? I noticed that one of the applicant's representatives said that the soil types were appropriate to create these rare and unique habitats. I'd like to say I have a degree in ornamental horticulture from Rutgers College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, and I've been in the horticultural business for over 45 years, involved with growing and planting trees and shrubs. Their expert said that the soil, the top 2 to 3 feet of soil is appropriate and drained sufficiently. There's way more factors than soil drainage as to whether they can successfully recreate these environments. One of the factors is soil pH. I don't know if they have monitored or tested the soil pH from all of the spoils that have come from the river on different parts of the property. Have they gone around and checked soil pHs throughout the property areas that they want to restore to see if they're appropriate? In my experience, I've seen where over many years when there's cattle producing manure, that over time the soil pHs can rise. And when that occurs, you might be able to plant all these areas for restoration, but whether they will thrive or not if the soil conditions aren't correct. There's also issues of the subsoil. So I guess my question to them on that would be whether all these other factors regarding the soil have been tested, because after 5 years, if this of creating these habitats to qualify for this policy 123.2.17, if there is a disaster, how is that going to be fixed? And I would question whether they can even properly establish it so that they can, the plants can thrive. The staff report talks about, they remind us and they list that for planned development rezoning requests, the hearing examiner must find, A, the proposed use or mix of uses is appropriate at the proposed location. We feel that it is not. The recommended conditions provide sufficient safeguards to the public interest and are reasonably related to the impacts on the public interest expected from the proposed development. We believe that they are not, and we discussed that as far as the level of service that's going to fail, even under their study, probably in about 6 years. That each requested deviation, 1, enhances the achievement of the objectives of the planned development, and 2, preserves and promotes the general intent of this code to protect public health, safety, and welfare. We do not believe that their plan protects the public health, safety, and welfare. So we believe that these requirements are not met. The developer held their required meetings with the public, but they never seriously considered input from the public, from our point of view. The developer is changing the face of the entire area. Current residents moved here because the area was planned to be rural. The development is not consistent with a rural lifestyle. The developer could have worked with the community to come up with a plan that would be satisfactory with the residents and still make a profit for the developer. We always find that the profiteers and deciders don't live in the vicinity of the proposed development and therefore don't suffer the consequences of their actions. We ask that you recommend denial of the application in its current form and recommend significant changes to make the proposed development more compatible with the rural community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today, sir.
Can I turn in a copy of our statement?
Certainly, I can take that. You can give it to Maria, or I can take it, either one.
For the record, can you let us know how far from the site you live?
I live on Durance Road, which is probably about 2 miles west of 31, and that's a mile from the site.
Okay. And you use the plural a lot, you can't talk about we. So
I'm here representing the concerned citizens of Bay Shore community. We're a community group, just like Alva Inc. is a community group. We have pretty much the same interests as Alva Inc. And so our board discusses this and decides upon a position. And we have about, maybe 150 people on an email list that's always sending us support.
Thank you.
The next card I have is for Dave Edwards. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. I moved out there about 12 years ago, and I had to have 5 acres to build a house on. It's the only way the county would let me do it. And I moved out there to be in the rural area. And I think about all the people in the past 40 years who moved out there, built their farms. They had to go by all them rules, and now it's just being overrun and it's being ruined. Trout Creek, I would really take a good look at that one because that's one of the most beautiful pieces of property there. Traffic is unbelievable. Wintertime, I was probably a half a mile back trying to go to work in the morning, just on North River Road. And like I said about the wildlife in Trout Creek, I had seen a manatee in there. So there's a lot there. Eagle in my front yard, landing. It's just unbelievable out there. I just wish the wildlife would really take a really good look at, and the traffic. There's something that has to be done with that. Your traffic's worse everywhere just because of all the building. So I think that's it. Please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today, sir.
Oh, hey, I'd like to say one thing I did forget that was very important.
Sure.
I live right beside this property. I live on 13620 North River Road. This does attach to my property.
Thank you.
And there was one more thing I was warning about. If they have any extreme flooding, because when you build up around me like them 3 sections and it creates a major flooding problem, is somebody going to take care of that? I mean, do I got attached to sewer and water? I mean, no cost should be to me, I don't think. Thank you.
Thank you. The next card I have is for Jack Snyder.
Hello, I'm Jack Snyder, resident of Alva. I came to ask a couple of questions because I didn't get clarifications from the very good presentations. And it may be because they're limited and the answers are there, I don't know. But with the water, the way the water is going to drain off of there, what happens if the engineers are wrong? Case in point, in Buckingham, which I don't live in Buckingham, case in point, there's a lot of homes that are getting flooded there right now. Who's going to protect them? Who's going to help them? Is the developer going to step in and be a good guy and help them? Is that plan in there? I don't know. Secondly, with the traffic study, obviously that we have problems there. Everybody's talking about it. We know that that's not going to be able to stop this because state law does not allow it to stop it. Not a problem. But there's still a traffic study that was conducted. The information that was utilized for that study, what happens if it's inaccurate? Is there a correction? Is the developer going to be responsible for that correction? Third, with the environmental study and the also the animals and everything else like that, what's going to happen if the vegetation isn't correct? If in 5 years it doesn't meet the height requirement, do they have to replace it? Case in point, on Palm Beach Boulevard, directly across the road from Tractor Supply, there's a buffer zone that was established. That buffer zone was established for the animals that live there and everything else like that. Right now, the only thing that's there are the trees and the bushes. Everything else died, left, whatever. So did the developer, okay, hey, we put this there, sorry, the animals left? Is there a contingency plan? Lastly, I believe that all property owners should have rights to do whatever they want with their property. And it is not until they affect their neighbor that their neighbor has a say. And I believe there's quite a few neighbors, myself included, that are here to say, we don't want the densities changed. We're fine with developing it, just as everybody else has been around there. Just don't change the densities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. The next card I have is for Denise Eberly.
Good afternoon. How are you? Well, I'm going to be a little shorter than I expected because pretty much everybody else has already addressed the things I was going to address. There's a couple outstanding things, so I won't need my PowerPoint. So there is the issue of the clustering, okay? Yeah, it says in the policy, you know, research and support diverse rural economy by promoting compact or clustered development. I believe that this is being misrepresented. It's being abused. It's not, I don't believe it was the intent that they're trying to say for a rural community. So, I mean, you have, 788 acres and, you know, the base density is roughly 788 homes, 1 acre per unit. So what they're suggesting is 8 to 10 units per acre. That's their clustering. 4,000 square foot properties. That's what? That's 1/8 of an acre, something like that. 1/10 of an acre. That's just ridiculous. And that's not what the rural community is about. And so my big issue there is the clustering. It's being abused. It's not the intent that was meant to be, especially if you want to do that in an urban community, fine. That's pretty much what urban communities are, 6 to 10 units per acre. But that doesn't represent a rural community of 1 acre per unit. So let's see, the other issue is, we don't have a problem, to address Mr. Cary's concerns, we don't have a problem with him selling his property. That's his right. We all have property rights. But all we want is that you follow the community plan, adhere to the community plan, which is 1 acre per unit. Now, if you want to cluster that to some degree, fine, you can still save a lot of preserved land. Let people own some property. How about 2 single-family homes per acre? Okay? That takes up 360, 70 acres off the top of my head, and it leaves 400 acres for preserve. But it still complements, more or less, the rural community. What they're suggesting at all is totally against everything of the rural community. To convey that the rural lifestyle 29.2 residential land uses protect and enhance the rural character of the North Olga community by evaluating residential development proposals for consistency with the community's rural character and sense of community. Rural character is defined as those characteristics that convey the rural lifestyle, such as large lots. Everybody around that property is single residents, single home residents with large land tracts, minimum of 1 acre, but in that area probably more. The other issue, some questions I have, is related to County Road 78, North River Road. Sorry, Mr. Neal, but your 30 seconds of your first impression, I'm not concerned with when it comes to your property. I am concerned with the safety of our community. Have you been down North River Road?
I did my site visit for this.
Yes, and especially that curve there. That's extremely dangerous curve. Now, he wants to put his entrance for all construction to come onto the east side of that property. Right at that curve. Do you know how many dump trucks that would be? Do you know how much construction material that is coming into that area? At least I know he doesn't want the western portion used, because that's probably where his model homes will be. But you have 1 mile from that property to 31, which 31 is supposed to be widened. North River Road is restricted from widening. I don't know if you know that. That is a restricted road, county road, that is never to be widened. What else have I got here? So I have to kind of go through things here now because I'm not going through my original thing. Okay. Let's go to the phone now. Okay. You've already seen the diagram for the 1 unit per acre. No density increases. The development should not be improved until all required conditions of staff are met, and not before the applicant submits and gets approval of a formal jurisdictional wetland determination and an environmental resource permit from South Florida Water Management District. The applicant has not yet applied for the jurisdictional wetland determination. I think it's all, and here's another thing related to the 1 unit per acre of the 788 units per that property. The applicant has the option to just use the base density, and then he doesn't have to, then he's not required for the environmental enhancements, the clustering, and utilities would not be required, just to keep it at the base density of what we're requesting, is the 1 acre per unit. I think I'm about over here, hang on. Okay, I think that's about it. I've got pretty much covered what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I do have a few questions I forgot to ask. Thank you. And then,
And Ms. Montgomery, they can't hear you. Could you turn on your microphone? Yes. It should be, I believe. Yours was earlier, I think. Yes, if you press the button.
what?
You gotta press the
Yes, did you have additional questions?
Oh,
Okay.
well, let me ask these questions and then I'll answer you. I thought I was done too until somebody said questions, and it's like, oh, I do have questions. So the questions I have are related to the stormwater runoff. I can find them now. And, you know, it pretty much covers, you know, the same thing that was brought up by another resident here. How much of the preserve is going to be managed with the, how much of the preserve is going to be managed with the use of herbicides, pesticides, and fertilizers? How much of this will be in stormwater runoff? How much of this will flow into the river, creating more nutrients? I understand that maybe the retentive ponds and the lakes and stuff will hold some stormwater runoff, but the rest of that preserve area, that has no place to go other than runoff into the river. And since our river right now is at a crucial time of pollution and whatever, it's like the last thing it needs is more nutrients from herbicides, pesticides, and fertilizers that run off from that preserved property. So I guess that's my questions related to that.
Thank you.
Yes, Neil.
Denise, I know you're involved in Alva. So do you live in, approximately how far from the site are you?
I am roughly 5 miles from there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, the next card I have is for Connie Dennis. Is Miss Dennis present? No? Okay. Was she? I'm sorry. No? Okay. Amanda Cochran.
Amanda's outside.
Amanda's right here.
That one, it will be, yeah.
Right here?
Let me see. Sure. Yes,
Okay, want to move it over here?
I think so.
Okay.
There you go. Cool.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. It's cold in here. I'm going to let my hair down. My name is Amanda Cochran, and I am here as a concerned Alva resident as it pertains to the increased push for unnecessary and irresponsible future use zoning changes that ultimately lead to development in a rural area that is inconsistent and incompatible with the LEAD plan. Let me start off by, if you don't mind, me reading into evidence. Under the correct legal standard, even lay testimony in a zoning compatibility is perfectly permissible and constitutes substantial competent evidence, so long as it is fact-based. Fact-based testimony may be relied upon as competent, substantial evidence. Metropolitan Dade County versus Blumenthal, 1996. In this case law precedent, which has been used by all Florida courts, the layperson citizen testimony went to the incompatibility of the proposed development with the surrounding uses and was found to be sufficient, competent, substantial evidence about the adjacent existing development and existing zoning around the subject site. The testimony was backed up by documentary information that included diagram of existing development and zoning and a county planning map of the general area. Later cases apply the Blumenthal principle to citizen testimony and other evidence in different settings, further explaining the standard, including such cases as Dade County versus Wahlberg, 1999, Dade County versus Section 11, 1998, Dade County versus Sport Acres Development Group, 1997. I say all of that so that you'll understand before any other questions arise that our testimony is competent and substantial. The Lee County Comprehensive Plan for Northeast Lee County Community Plan in Goal 27 states, maintain and enhance and support the heritage and rural character, natural resources, and agricultural lands. Policy 1.4.1, as was stated, the rural future land use category are areas that are to remain predominantly rural. Policy 10.1.4, these areas are not to be programmed to receive urban-type capital improvements. I'm hoping that changes it. Okay. In addition, the Lee Plan for North Olga Community Plan in Goal 29 states, promote and support the unique rural character, heritage, economy, quality of life, and natural resources in the North Olga Community Plan area. In addition, the Lee Plan for North Olga Community Plan in Goal 29 states, promote and support the unique rural character, heritage, the compact development also serves to protect the natural rural character and natural view sheds through large buffers. That's what Neil states, that they plan to protect the rural character through view sheds by using large buffers and setbacks. I looked up the word view shed as defined in the dictionary, the natural environment that is visible from one or more viewing points. That's important because it must mean that Neil recognizes that what lies inside of the development is not consistent with the rural character and heritage of the area because they have to protect us from it through view sheds like large buffers and setbacks. Neil Communities' application claims that the recently approved amendment for the water and sewer removes potential impacts from up to 788 private wells and septic systems. Contrary to Neil's opinion, there is an important place in our system of infrastructure for private wells and septic systems. Just ask the hospital after the most recent hurricane. And in rural areas, as the Lee Plan states, there are places that should not be programmed for urban-type capital improvements. And with the state-of-the-art advancements of current well and septic systems, it's indisputable that they are safe, efficient, and most importantly, environmentally friendly. We can pontificate that the reason for the recent approval of the Comprehensive Plan Amendment is some kind of responsible push for sewer and water in a rural area, but the truth is, this is for the financial benefit of one developer from another county who is attempting an end run around established policies to exploit a density incentive program that should never be considered for an area long established with a maximum allowable density of 1 dwelling per acre in an area that is not contiguous to current service areas. Neil also states of the recently approved amendment that it provides protection to the environment and benefits the public health, safety, and welfare of the existing future residents at no cost to the county. That is a lofty statement for property they intend to develop in a way that no other planned development has ever done in North Olga, with 40-foot and 30-foot home sites, increased densities, compact development, insufficient emergency services, grossly inadequate roadways, and a dying river, just to name a few. In total, the two combined proposed developments on this agricultural and environmentally sensitive land will consist of almost 1,500 residential units in a clustered development format on 1,133 acres of land, with the smallest, again, proposed home sites consisting of 40-foot and 30-foot single-family and 30-foot home sites with attached duplex dwellings. I repeat, 30-foot home sites in Alva. Neil Community has stated that the goal is to develop a portion of the neighboring property into what the developer refers to as attainable housing, to include the manufacturing of, quote, budget-conscious homes with, quote, cost-efficient floor plans and, quote, simplified and value-engineered products. That was according to the Business Observer in September of 2023. Who in the world would approve the development of affordable housing in the section of the county farthest from essential urban services and where there is no public transportation? If approved, this clustered home development will triple the population of the north side of Alva with the construction of one residential community. The already stressed infrastructure cannot support this massive development. Additionally, this proposed development would further threaten the environment in the northeast section of Lee County, which will have widespread consequences. Of the combined 1,133 acres, to include both, there is over 190 acres of wetlands, countless species, indigenous habitats, and I haven't heard brought up today, historic archaeological sites. The proposed plan development is inconsistent and incompatible with the character as outlined in the Lee County Comprehensive Plan. This is a picture of the surrounding property maps submitted by Neal Communities, which shows it as it is today. This is an image Neal Communities of the planned development superimposed over the current map. There's a lot of green on the outside. Our community at large is supportive of responsible development as established by the Lee Plan. This is not it, not even close. Back in early 2023, at the hearing examiner's meeting for the rezoning of the now approved application titled Greenwell State Road 31, another large proposed development in Alva, several members of our community showed up and packed a small room to publicly speak in opposition of that proposed rezoning. At the end of the hearing examiner Collins provided the community members that were in attendance with assertive words of advice. She strongly recommended that the appropriate and effective time for the public to become involved and to be heard is during the comprehensive plan amendment process instead of the zoning process. Fast forward to January 2024 during the Board of County Commissioners transmittal hearing for Neal Communities comprehensive plan amendment. Approximately 65 members of the public provided comment on the proposed amendment. 61 members of the public were opposed to the amendment, and 4 supported it, some of whom had vested interest. Public comments included concerns, as of today, over traffic, the ability of emergency services to respond, constructing the utility line under the river, general incompatibility with the neighboring very low-density residential uses, life, safety, I haven't heard that word brought up today either, and a belief that septic systems are better for the environment than public utilities. All valid and evidence-based reasons for the amendment should have been considered incompatible and inconsistent. At the end of public comment on January 17th, after being told by the hearing examiner that that's where we should be involved, no discussion was made by the commissioners, and the recommendation by the LPA committee was not to approve. A motion was made to transmit the proposed amendment. The motion passed 5-0. 61 members of the public provided comments in opposition, and there was not even the appearance of concern for the public interest on the matter. And here we are again today, after being completely dismissed in recent decisions multiple times, and coming to be heard anyway. It also bears repeating that in Alva, we are not anti-development. It's been said already. That seems to be the narrative. In fact, many of the public who live in Alva that have taken their day off work today to come and provide public comment in opposition to this proposed rezoning amendment are builders, engineers, surveyors, well drillers, and many other workforce members of the building development industry. So I'll say it again, our community at large is supportive of responsible development as established by the Lee Plan. This rezoning amendment is not that. This plan ultimately is for one developer to become more rich at the expense of an entire historically rural community with deadly implications. Property rights are the legal rights of ownership on which others are not allowed to infringe without proper compensation. But they do not include changing the established rules for the benefit of a developer from another county, changing the established rules to the deadly detriment of an entire community, putting at risk an entire community because the infrastructure is grossly unequipped to handle even the current population of the area, putting at risk further the natural resources and wildlife that depend on the quickly shrinking rural areas. Again, we support property rights that are afforded to property owners as outlined in the Lee Plan. Developers should not be able to manipulate the land use and zoning requirements to disregard the established rules of the Lee County Comp Plan. Where is the justice in allowing the commercial goals of an individual developer to override the rights of thousands of property owners who invested themselves into a way of life that is fast disappearing? During these decisions, the Board of County Commissioners often invoke the Burt-Harris Act as their basis and argument for why they have no other choice but to approve these amendments and rezoning applications. Please allow me to read what I understand of the Burt-Harris. What is the Burt-Harris Act? It is intended to protect property.
Hearing examiner. I let the unauthorized practice of law proceed earlier.
You let the what? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
You're giving legal testimony and you're not qualified and you're not allowed, and I'm going to object to further legal testimony.
So I can't give an interpretation of what I believe the Burt-Harris Act is, and you can refute it.
So what is the basis of the objection
You
exactly?
got to tread softly on the
Can I
unauthorized
give my
practice of law.
interpretation of what the
So,
Burt-Harris law is?
okay, everyone please.
Ms.
So-
Cochran, what I'm suggesting is you need to tread lightly on the unauthorized practice of law.
Can I continue?
Okay. So, yeah,
Back up to
excuse me,
hearing feminine.
yes. So please, if you could, and I believe you did this, but if you can just elucidate your comments that you are not providing legal opinion, you are providing your
I am
understanding.
providing my understanding
Yes.
of the Burt-Harris Law Act, and it is welcome to be challenged.
Understood.
And I wish that they would.
Okay, thank you.
What is the Burt-Harris Act? It is intended to protect property owners by preserving their ability to maintain the existing use of their property or any reasonably foreseeable use. To put it bluntly, the Burt-Harris Act does not apply to property owners attempting to increase their property's density, intensity, or uses known as upzoning. What the Burt-Harris Act is not, despite apparent cries to the contrary and noticeable misconceptions, neither the Burt-Harris Act nor the U.S. Constitution provides property owners with a guarantee of maximum profits or an unassailable right to approve all development proposals. Local decision makers are not bound to approve developments simply because a property owner invokes the name of the act. Unfortunately, some commissioners and planners across the state have erroneously claimed that their hands are tied, using the act as a reason to approve developments they might otherwise scrutinize more thoroughly. With hands up and shoulders shrugged, these decision makers urge their disgruntled constituents that there is nothing they can do but approve the developments. This defensive declaration misses the mark. In reality, the Burt-Harris Act is meant to protect property owners, not to grant developers the power to coerce local governments into approving projects. It is essential for local planning commissions to understand that the act was never intended to be a blanket endorsement for all development proposals. Instead, it was meant to balance property rights with reasonable land use regulations, ensuring that property owners are compensated for undue burdens without undermining local land use authority. This act has undoubtedly had a chilling effect on land use regulations and innovation. However, local planning commissions are not permitted to abuse land codes and processes by taking refuge behind the Burt-Harris Act. It was simply never intended to assume that role. In recent months, I have heard one commissioner in particular using the Babcock Ranch development as justification for the approval of recent amendments. This is misleading. Babcock is an anomaly that was always presented and designed to be self-sustaining, which means they won't need outside urban services. Additionally, Babcock was paid hundreds of millions to set aside thousands of acres for conservation, leaving a 1,300-foot buffer, as was mentioned. You can't compare developing Alva and North Alga in the same way with densely compacted developments that are equivalent of urban sprawl and do not have the urban services necessary to support this level of development. In my opinion, this picture is the identity of urban sprawl. And if I could just read into record, also please, thank you for your graciousness. Spot zoning is not governed by city code, but by Florida common law as established in Florida case law. Although spot zoning is not explicitly prohibited by state statutes, city or county land development codes, it is universally condemned practice.
Again, I'm going to interject. I'm going to object for the record to continuing legal testimony from someone who's not qualified.
You can
Can I
continue.
give my interpretation of spot zoning?
Ma'am, it's up to me, and I said you could continue, so please continue.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. It is universally condemned practice by Florida courts and will not survive a legal challenge. Parking Facilities, Inc. versus City of Miami Beach, Florida, 1956. The rezoning would destroy the character of the neighborhood and, quote, constitute spot zoning of the worst order, a practice which we all and all other courts have universally condemned. In Byrd Kendall versus Dade County, the county commissioners approved a rezoning to allow what was prohibited in the surrounding area. This was characterized as spot zoning to the nth degree. In fact, Chief Judge Schwartz wrote, "The extent of the violation of this principle is so pronounced in this case that the term spot zoning doesn't do it justice. Perhaps melanoma zoning, or for short, melazoning, would be more appropriate." Property Law, 1998, Survey of Florida Law, 23 Nova L. As explained in Stetson Law Review, the phrase miscarriage of justice as it applies to a zoning case has not been expressly defined. However, it has been suggested that a fundamental departure from controlling law, end quote, possibly constituted a miscarriage of justice. The court found in Bird Kendall just such a fundamental departure from the controlling law prescribing spot zoning. Spot zoning is a practice in which the Florida Supreme Court and all other courts have universally condemned. Rott versus Miami Beach. Florida law has long held that spot zoning is discriminatory and unconstitutional. The Florida Supreme Court, in characterizing the elements of spot zoning, a spot zoning challenge involves the examination of the following. Almost done. Number 1, the size of the spot. Number 2, the compatibility with the surrounding area. Number 3, the benefit to the owner. And number four, the detriment to the immediate neighborhood. This application is illegal spot zoning because it fails these elements of the spot zoning test, and therefore it is illegal spot zoning. The members of the Alva community and Alva Strong at large have largely consulted with experts and planners and attorneys to advocate for the benefit of the citizens of Northeast Lee County regarding the Cary+Povia rezoning application, DCI 2022-00067. It is the position of the majority of our community and the surrounding areas that this proposed development not only fails to honor any of the long-established goals with the Lee County Comprehensive Plan, but also represents an irresponsible overdevelopment of the last rural corridor of Southwest Florida with far-reaching impacts to the infrastructure, resources, the culture, and the environment. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Cochran, before you leave, could you tell us for the record how far you are from the site?
I'm at 17610 Taylor Road in North Olga. I pass the site every day, and I would estimate it's a couple miles.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have my-
We were going to take a break at 2:45 to give everyone a rest for a moment. We're going to go ahead and break now so I don't have to cut off the next speaker. So we will resume in 15 minutes at 2:50. Please meet back in the room. On the record, we'll resume with public comment cards. The next card I have is for Darius Cochran.
Thank you, ma'am. I want to say appreciate you guys. Y'all been very respectful to everyone here. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon.
And for the record, Darius L. Cochran, 17610 Taylor Road. Here. Mic on?
I was assuming you lived in the same place.
Is the mic on here?
I assume so. We can ask.
Okay.
The tall folks are disadvantaged.
All right, guys, for the record, Darius L. Cochran, 17610 Alva.
Picket Bridge was constructed in 1960 with a 50-year service life. Major rehabilitations were completed for the bridge since it was built. The bridge has a low sufficiency rating, which is a rating of a bridge's fitness to remain in service. The bridge also experiences frequent mechanical malfunctions, leaving the bascule span in the up position, which disrupts traffic flow and circulation in the area. The bridge also has substandard design elements. Among other things, The bridge has narrow travel lanes and shoulders and does not adequately accommodate non-vehicular travelers, such as pedestrians and bicyclists. The bridge does not meet current U.S. Coast Guard standards for horizontal clearance. Movable bridges present maintenance costs.
Let me back up just a
The
little bit here.
Wilson Pickett Bridge
Okay,
was constructed as a
again
low
now.
sufficiency rating, which is a
We
rating
should
of a
listen to that
bridge's
twice,
fitness.
actually. Thank you, sir. This is just a little demonstration of how the government works and maybe why some people in Alva don't really trust how they do operations. What I have here is a taking for the right-of-way on Bayshore Road, the second access. When you come out North River Road, head south, you only have two choices. Both are two-lane roads. The two-lane road goes into the bridge that we just talked about. That's insufficient. It was built in 1960 with a 50-year lifespan. It's well over. It's a terrible bridge for massive development. Then you have the two-lane Bayshore going to I-75. So my family owned a store, I think it was 9521 Bayshore Road. They said they're going to take the property, gas pumps. They took all the property up into the eve of the property there. It's a Western store now across from Lawhon's gas station, Marathon. And they said we're putting a 4-lane road in from I-75 to State Road 31. And that's why they're taking that property. We built the store as a Circle K, Shop and Go. Circle K bought out Shop and Go. It was a property that we had as a rental for many, many years. They took that away from us, the Florida Department of Transportation. I want you to look at the date on there. Can you read that date? It says November 5, 1993. That's when they took the property for the 4-laning of Bayshore between I-75 and State Road 31. So they don't move real fast. So we're basically, we have two ways to get out. And now we got this, Michigan or Missouri right turn or whatever it is. Go down. We're going to have all the traffic go down and do a U-turn and come back around so we can head south. Great plan, great plan. So what we're going to do, in 1993, we're going to 4-lane the road. So this week I talked to Florida Department of Transportation and Mr. Bateman, Patrick. Here's some of the stuff that we spoke about. We had a conversation. State Road 31, from State Road 80 to State Road 78, which is Bayshore, is currently going through environmental review. Now, somebody over here in transportation, I'm certain, made an accidental claim that that was already funded. I'm certain they made a mistake, so whoever that was. So I just want to correct the record for that, because unless somebody's talked to Mr. Bateman over the last 72 hours since I've spoken to him, it's not funded. It's not funded at all. Matter of fact, the department is still studying the impacts of the improvements. The department is not committed to implementing improvements. State Road 78 from I-75 to State Road 31 is continuing to go through updates after the workshop. The public hearing is anticipated to be held in early 2025. So the design, right-of-way, and construction are not funded at this time. I just want to make that clear and correct the record, because you may take for what they say to be actual factual, and I'm sure it's probably an accident on their part once again. It's not funded. From 75 to State Road 31, according to Florida Department of Transportation, project manager, it's not funded. What that means, in fiscal year 2029, which is about 5 years from now, they think it'll be in the budget. No certainties, no certain build here at all. I was very surprised to see this. The no build, he said, because we're required to keep a do-nothing alternative until the end of the environmental study. So I know you guys don't care about traffic. It doesn't seem when the commissioners say they can't say anything about no to traffic. So we've been working on this 4-lane road here since 1993. It's still not there. So what we talked about then was from State Road 80 to Bayshore Road. Let me see a correspondence here. Let me jump up here. Any solid update on the bridge? The bridge replacement is part of the State Road 31 from Highway 80 to Bayshore Road, the 78 project. So the plan is for construction to start in fiscal year 2029. I want to correct that because that was wrong on the information that you have. And you can look at the previous record. I believe it was the transportation gentleman. He said that was funded. So I don't care if you put 12 lanes of highway down State Road 31. You have a 2-lane bridge, and you have 2 lanes all the way to Highway 80, and you have 2 lanes all the way to I-75. So there's no possible way on the face of this earth that this project on either side, either access, either southbound lanes, if you go west on Bayshore, south on State Road 31 to Highway 80, nothing's happening, guys. All this talk about the roads coming in, the roads coming in, the road's not coming in anytime soon. No time soon. We got this new project here that Babcock, I guess, is taking and participating in up until Bayshore Road from Cypress. What's the road, Cypress, up there? The main entrance of Babcock down to the Civic Center, I believe. Bayshore Road. Yeah, that may be 4-lane, 6-lane, 8-lane, 10-lane, 12-lane. I mean, who cares? Look what happens at the Fort Myers Beach. They have a stop and go. They have 4 or 5 different lanes, but it still goes across a little bridge. This bridge is a catastrophic bridge for hurricane evacuation. We're going to get jammed going to a 2-lane road on I-75. We're going to get jammed going to Highway 80. We had a wreck last week. Both sides of the river were locked down for an hour. Everybody in here knows. So I think common sense ought to be a category we should probably add to the development code. Because traffic, they say, we can't use. They say, well, we don't care about traffic. We can't say no to traffic. I mean, well, come on. Let's be reasonable. We're happy for development in Alva. Like Grant said, who's the president of our community. We want development. Just about everybody in this room. I mean, we want development. But if you're going to sit here and tell us that a 30-foot lot goes with a 5-acre parcel, and that's compatible, it makes us wonder. Anyways, I got to the bridge point here. I'm sorry I skip around, but when will the bridge be completed? I just threw out a year. 2035, I said. Should be before 2035. Awesome. So within 11 years, we're pretty certain we're going to have a new bridge. I doubt it because here again, I have the track record back here of what they do. See, in 1993, they told me the same thing. They're going to 4-lane the road. That's why they're going to do a taking. So I've been out of rental business. My family's been out of rental business for 31 years on that property. They paid us a little money that they said they were going to give, and that's it. So 31 years ago, they're going to 4-lane that road. Put in 75, we're going to have 75 go right through 31. So 31 years on that little project. So when they say 2035, the bridge will be done, yeah, I doubt it. But even so, if it was done 2030, it still wouldn't matter. This is a massive development. We have right now on the north side of the river, Grant, what, 1,500 people? 1,500 people we have on a 10, 12-mile stretch. 1,500 people. I mean, pretty good math. 1,500 homes, both of his developments. 3 or 4 people, that's about 5,000, 6,000, correct? So you're going to take the old country, you're going to take old Florida, one of the last settlements. I believe it was the first settlement in Lee County. And I think the lady is right. The vice president said that 2-lane road will always be a 2-lane road. I assume it's probably a historic 2-lane road. So you yourself can make a recommendation for 1,500 people that it's a great idea to put 6,000 people there. When we have a bridge that may be done by 2035. We have a 4-lane road to Bayshore, may be done by 2030. We have the other project from Highway 80 to 31 to Bayshore. 2029 is the fiscal year for funding. Not funded. And they still have do nothing on their chart. And I question that because everybody says, oh, it's going to be done, going to be done, going to be done. No, ma'am. The environmental study is not even done for the taking on 31 south of the bridge. So we already know all 5 commissioners are going to say yes. You're the one that can make a decision for the entire 33920. I hate to put this on you, but it's on you. This is your decision to make a common sense, good decision for the community and the citizens of Lee County, including Alva, North Alga. Sorry. It's personal to us. It's personal. It's our Sand Cap Road. It's our Ding Darling. What Captiva and Sanibel have. We want our old Florida. This man came up here and bought a 5-acre parcel. They said he had to have 5 acres to build a house. Right next door. And you're going to say it's okay to put a 30 and 40-foot lot. What's Cape Coral have? 80 feet? Why can't we have 80 feet? We're out in the middle of nowhere. And they want to put 30 and 40-foot lot sizes. What's Lehigh? 100 feet? Quarter-acre lot. Why are we so unreasonable, the citizens of Alva? Why are we so unreasonable that we want a normal-sized home site? We think children ought to have a backyard. We think children ought to have a front porch and a back porch. We think the best place for an animal is having a place to run outside. Everybody hates storage units. Well, the reason there's storage units around, and I've sold storage unit sites. I'm guilty. It's a product of lot size. We have thousands upon thousands of acres in Southwest Florida. We don't need to stack people up around here like Miami. The whole trajectory of the development in Lee County needs to change. And we've yelled and screamed and nobody listens because they have one thing in mind: help an out-of-town developer. I feel like the Lee County staff is working for the developer instead of the citizens. I mean, we want representation. We want common sense factored in as part of the Lee plan. Any way we can do that, let's put common sense in the Lee plan. I think we ought to put it 101. Here's another correspondence. State Road 78 project is not funded for construction. I even put a red line there. The environmental study is underway and we are hoping to go to a public hearing on it in the winter. The State Road 31 Babcock project is supposed to be ending first day of 27, I guess. This is a property right next to it. Close proximity. This is actually a fence post. 18990 Serenoa Court. That's on a 5-acre parcel right next door. Mr. Edwards came up here, he's on a 5-acre parcel right next door. I want you to look at something. This is the aerial. That's North River Road, that's Serenoa Court. This is a Zillow, which I don't agree with Zillow, everything they say or do, but I'm going to go with Zillow on this. A couple years ago, this house is worth $1 million. And my guess is, in my opinion, Counselor, is that all the talk and all this around this development has shot the value of this property down $300,000. Now, I don't make this stuff up. I just got it off the internet. I mean, anybody can just Google it and see it. This is a home right next door to the development. I mean, the house did not get flooded. So you tell me, why did the house drop $300,000? Full disclosure, I am in the business. Affordable housing. I know how this works. My opinion is I know how this works. Affordable housing is something developers do to try to get the attention of the commissioners and the government to say, oh, we need affordable housing. Well, let me tell you something about the people I know that want to buy an affordable house. They don't want to be told where they live. They want to live where they want to live. They want to live where maybe Lehigh or Cape Coral. They may want to live in Fort Myers. They don't want to be told they have to live in a row of houses that all look the same color roof. Some of these houses up here don't even have a front door. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I've never sold a house without a front door. This is off the Neil brochure. This is what you want to change it into right here. 10 feet apart. Ma'am, the code for an HVAC system is 1 foot from the building. Talked to a licensed contractor yesterday. You have a concrete wall, you have 1 foot, put your air conditioner. Air conditioners are 3 feet. If you're not careful when you walk your dog outside, I hope, if you have a dog, you got to be real careful because you may encroach on the property next door to you. 1 foot, 3 foot, 5 foot between property. Their plan on their paperwork, I'm getting it off of their paperwork, and it says 10 feet, house to house. Why on God's green earth would we want to build houses out in the middle of nowhere that are 10 feet apart? Please, please, please. Again, let's factor in common sense into the Lee plan. I think the brilliant minds of the Lee County government could really put that into play. Let's be different. Let's don't be like Hialeah, Miami-Dade counties. Maybe some people want to live in those houses in town, closer to public transportation, and people can live wherever they want to live. But my point is, there's over 4,000 homes available right now under $350,000. I would consider at this day and age probably affordable housing. This is a house on the Neal Community's website I found yesterday. This is a house listed here at $367,554. Now, if you want a front door, I'm sorry, it's going to cost you a little more. I apologize for my friends and family. This is over what I just found 4,000 homes under $350,000 in Southwest Florida. That's my opinion, even though I did look at it yesterday on the MLS, but that is my opinion of how many is in Southwest Florida. So this house, it's got a little cupola, fake cupola on the top of the garage, but I don't know where the front door is. Do you know where the front door is? Where's the front door of the house? No, there is no front door in the front. Do you have to go through the garage?
Madam Hearing Member, I'm going to have to ask
You could please
Mr.
just-
Cochran to
Yes.
focus his attention on you and not Mr. Neal.
This is what we want in Alva. This is a beautiful home, beautiful front yard for kids, grandkids, Thanksgiving. You can have people over here. And we don't need a storage unit here because we have enough room. We don't have to supply these storage units, by the thousands. Because a storage unit is a product of lot size. Been in the business, lived here 4th generation, Southwest Florida. This is a beautiful home, galvalume roof. It's got a front porch, back porch, got a garage, got a little place for an outbuilding. Any progress here at all? Let's go back again. This is what they want to build. This is what we want. No place in Alva. I want to thank Buckingham Preserve people. I want to thank North Fort Myers people, because we're all on the same page. East of 75, ma'am, we've all lived out here for a long, long time. Some people love HOAs. I personally have a little issue with them. But if you want to live in an HOA with sewer and water, which the county commissioners can raise like they did last year, 45% over the next 4 years, it's a government takeover of a small town, is what it is. And the government comes in, they tell you that you need sewer and water. Got to have sewer and water because septic tanks are bad. But your office, your company, your business permits septic tanks every single day. So when they come up here and say septic tanks are bad, you know, don't believe them. Otherwise, you guys would never permit a septic tank unless it was really a good idea. So the argument with a septic tank, sewer, and water is just doesn't hold water. Where do you think the water comes from? It doesn't come from a big steel tank downtown Fort Myers. They dig wells. The water comes from the ground, goes up in the tank, and then it goes out to all the people. And then if somebody breaks one, then it puts out 10,000 people at one time. In Alva, if our water system breaks, it takes out one family. We're self-sufficient. We take care of ourselves. We have the best water, the RO system, the best water you can find. This is that same house in Alva. Beautiful. Beautiful house. I did not sell it. It has nothing to do with me. It's just a random house I found in Alva, probably a mile down the street. So talking about sewer and water. And this is where common sense, you know, I don't know, maybe it's just me. But city water and sewer, they take raw sewage. They take the raw sewage, they fill it with chemicals. It's not good enough to drink. But every city water and sewer plant around our area puts the raw sewage, after they put the chemicals in it, right back into the Caloosahatchee River. Please somebody explain to me why that's a great idea. Just read it. A portion of the activated sludge, which is raw sewage. They make pretty names for it. Sludge, I guess, is better than sewage. Collected in the clarifiers is removed from the process for final disposal. On the very end, they bring fertilizer through a cooperative agreement with Lee County. So I didn't know this. You know, we do a lot of studies and, you know, we find new things. It's very interesting. So Lee County developed something called Organic Lee. They even paid the money to trademark it. So what it is, it's human sewage that they put chemicals in it. And then you can buy it down there at the county, or maybe they give it to you, I don't know. It's called Organic Lee. And it's human waste. And they call it compost. You can put it on your lawn 365 days a year without restrictions. Those are just the facts. So you can get human waste. Here's what it's called, organically compost. I don't know about you, but I don't want human waste in my yard. I don't want the fertilizer, and I don't want the effluent, which is raw sewage with chemicals, put back in the Caloosahatchee River. I don't know why we talk about all the algae blooms and all these problems with the water in the Caloosahatchee River, but yet we give people fertilizer that has human waste that runoff goes into the river. Again, I think we ought to put common sense 101 back into the lead plan. I think some of the water keepers, water watchers, whatever they want to be, the scientists, I think they need to look at human waste fertilizer runoff into the Caloosahatchee River. I'd start right there. I'd also start with all the raw sewage that you put chemicals in downtown at Lee County or city plants. Right in the Billy Creek area, they just pour all the raw sewage that's been put in chemicals, and they say it's clean water. Maybe it is, but just really, really, I struggle with that when people really talk about how horrible septic tanks are. And these city sewer and water plants are just, magic, according to these people. So he can build 750 homes with city water and sewer if he wants to. There's no law that says he can't. You don't have to give him a bonus density just because they get water and sewer out here. The LPA turned it down. The 5 commissioners overruled the LPA, so why do we have an LPA? They're going to say 5-0 anyways. So. Here's some more information on the organic lead that's made by mixing the sludge. Maybe this is not interesting to anybody, but it just caught my eye. I'd like to close with this and let you know that I appreciate your respect. Thank you very much. You've done a great job today. But there's some reasons why we don't trust Lee County government. And I think we've produced a few of those today. In Alva, we have a little issue here in downtown. And I'll leave you with this. We had a 15 miles per hour speed limit going in the last corner, downtown Alva. But the government thought it was a great idea to bring out a warning, school children playing ahead. So they probably spent about $5,000. Brought this nice sign out there, I think it's aluminum, beautiful light, flashes. I guess my point is, we were only going 15 miles an hour. So the government paid about $5,000 to put a sign up there. So when we see school children playing, we can speed up 5 miles an hour. I can't make this up, people. I can't. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today, sir. The next card that I have is for Pat Neal. You don't want to speak, sir? Okay. Thank you. Kathy Arnold is the next card that I have. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hello, and thank you for your time. My name is Kathy Arnold, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my husband, Randy Arnold. We live at 14971 Terrell Drive. Our side yard runs right along North Volga, so we can walk to this proposal. I have been to all of the meetings regarding this proposed high-density community, well, except the one that was scheduled and held along the side of the road at noon in the middle of summer. The first meeting that I went to, the planning agency determined that sewers and water should not be approved for this area. In my opinion, digging under the river has to be an ecological nightmare. They sent their opinion to the commissioners, but the commissioners did not appear to agree and said, okay, sewers and water it is, Mr. Neal. This was so disappointing. The public outcry against this development has been loud and proud. Alva is the last truly rural area in Lee County. We purchased our property for our retirement based on the rural character of North Olga. Our field that is actually right next to our house that we own but allow our neighbors to put their cows on, we hand feed them treats. We love that. You can bicycle here, play basketball in our barn. Our grandsons can walk to our house. With this potential influx tripling our population, I don't think this calm, relaxing atmosphere will remain. The men and women who helped plan North Olga knew what was needed in this crazy county. The rivers, the parks, the winding country road used by many motorcycles. All this will become harder to access. The traffic on 31 is already a nightmare. On my way here this morning, 31 was backed up from Bay Shore to the Cracker Shack. No accident. Why does Neil not have to abide by this established plan that has been in place forever? All of the existing communities that have been built in this area have had to follow these rules. This reminds me of the student loan forgiveness that's on the books. My husband and I had several school loans that we signed on the dotted line for. We knew it was an obligation, no matter how hard it was to make those payments every month. We did without a lot of things and didn't have kids for 6 years. Why should we forgive loans? Why should Neil not have to play by the long-established rules? Please keep North Olga rural in every sense. Please say no to the high-density request. He can build his neighborhood based on the same requirements that we all have had to follow, 1 house per acre. Please do not allow our home values, property values to plummet. Keep North Olga, Alva rural. My only question in this whole process is, why is the reason for all of this discussion that this is already approved for 788 homes? Why is 788 not enough? Why can't 788 homes have sewers and water? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today, ma'am. The next card I have is for Janice Klinken-Smith. Yes, sir.
She was called away.
Okay.
She opposes.
Okay. Will she return? Should I put her back in the list, or she won't be back?
No,
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, the next card I have is, well, this is you, I guess, sir. Did you wish to speak today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's Alan. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Alan Klingen-Smith. I've been in Lee County ever since the Wilson-Pygott Bridge was put in 60 years ago. Lived in Alva for 32 years on 18121 Traverse Drive, 1 mile from this. A few years back, my address is Alva, but we're in the North Olga community. A few years back, some people came to my door with a petition to create North Olga. And I was naive, I didn't know anything about it. I thought, well, this is representation, so I signed a petition. And we became North Olga. North Olga turned out to be run by some big landowners, and they changed the comprehensive plan, especially for clustering. And that is kind of the issue here today. This development has to have clustering to have that many units. They already have Owl Creek, which has got over 300, I don't know what the number is, but it's over 300 units there. And they have, I'm assuming this is 788 today, and they're asking for 1,099. Well, they've already got 1,000, 788, and over 300 in Owl Creek. The main thing over the couple of years we've been discussing this and going to meetings and everything is the density. When we came up against sewer and water, we were told by their lawyer, it has nothing to do with density. It has everything to do with density. You can't have this density without the sewer and water. There's not enough land there, buildable land, to have 788 wells and septic tanks. So it's a done deal. As far, we've got sewer and water's approved. If this goes through, what I am asking for is to consider peeling back the amount of density. There are ways of doing it that you don't have to cram so many people into such a small area. That's basically what I had to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today. The next card I have is for William Fields. afternoon.
Long day, eh?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here. I'm amazed and so proud to be amongst so many people that are so brilliant and speaking so brilliantly today. I live at 1044, whatever it is, Duke Highway, right across. I'm 100 yards away from what's going to happen, what we hopefully doesn't happen. We don't know. I mean, you see the movie Idiocracy? I think we're there. It's like everything points against this. It's just amazing. Two people are for it. Two groups are for this, the buyer and the seller. Everybody else in Alva and in North Fort Myers, in Buckingham, all these people, I have not heard one person that's for this. And we got two people that are for it. I mean, this is idiocracy at its height. It's almost unbelievable. It's the order and law has been taken away from the people in this situation. I like to watch Westerns. I'm a Western aficionado. And always there's a big guy come in. And he always gets beat at the end, at least in every Louis L'Amour book. And the Louis L'Amour character gets the pretty girl and the ranch. I don't know if that's real life. I sometimes wonder. But I like money. I like money. I'm a manufacturer. I own a manufacturing plant right up here in North Fort Myers. We're very successful. We're successful because we do correct action. I pay my people more than anybody pays in this area. We take exemplary care of our customers. We have risen since I've been back. I started 20 years ago, and I've been in Elba for 25 years, by the way. We've risen from making 2,000 units to 17,000. We're now the leader in making heat pumps for swimming pools. Why is that? Correct action. In every religion, in every scripture that's ever been written, correct action is the key to get to heaven. In some way, you have to walk like the saints. I don't even understand. Correct action isn't even getting heard. We're in such an insane age that I just can't believe it. I was approached yesterday by two gentlemen over here. They work for Neal Properties. They came and knocked on my door, asked me why I'm against what they're doing. I said, I didn't even have a chance to say. He said, growth. I said, I'm not against growth, although I really am. I accept it. If they've been promised a certain amount, they should have it. Like I told you, I like the old Westerns. But I said, I'm against you getting more, the 1,099. He said, no, we get that. We got that already because of clustering and other things. Well, at that point, I think, well, why should I even go to this meeting tomorrow? If they've already got that, it's already set in stone. Well, I phoned Bill Redfern, and he says, no, it's not in stone. It's not in stone until this meeting tomorrow, and they might run a game on us, but it's not in stone. If it's not in stone, if they've already got it, then they're correct. If they've not got it, then maybe they didn't know what's going on. But I can't believe that they work for Neal Properties and they don't know what's going on. And they're substantial people in Neal Properties. They're not underlings. This could be illegal as far as I'm concerned. Because if they went through my community, and maybe it's just my house they picked, and only me. Because they mentioned, oh, you got horses instead of homes. Well, that's because I like the country. I'm a country boy. I don't plant much of a garden anymore, but I had a great crop of passion flowers this year and a great crop of papayas. I like the possums that come in the yard. I like the raccoons. My wife says you ought to trap those raccoons. I say, I ain't trapping the raccoons. I love the raccoons. They're my buddies. I like what we got going on. I even like the old polluted river. I'd like to see something done about that, but that's even a bigger priority, I think. But if they knew what was going on, and I got influenced, and I'm fairly easily influenced. I've got a little kid's mind in a kind of funny way. I'm easily influenced. How many other people are easily influenced, and how many houses did they see yesterday? This makes me wonder. I expected a huge turnout here, and when I seen how small it was, how much manipulation has gone in to making this not happen? Is it legal? Any way you look at it, it's incorrect. It's incorrect. It's unethical. So I think that's all I got to say. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
I do have a business card, too. I'm not going to do this.
The next card that I have is for Terry Pasca.
If it's needed to make me plausible, I have a business card.
Your testimony was under oath, sir. I believe you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Examiner. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but maybe I'll put a little different spin on stuff. Can I get the pointer here? There we go. I live on Duke Highway, so I'm very familiar with the traffic patterns around there. And I'd like to respond to a comment Mr. Neal made about possibly changing the construction entrance. What's the pointer? The entrance from Duke Highway onto North River Road, North River Road is right at this point where Olga meets North River. At this point, North River speed limit's 55 miles an hour, but in actuality, it's 65. I'm the slowest car on the road. I do 60, and I got cars on my bumper all the time. People are constantly passing me on double yellow lines, and it's just a train wreck out there. Now, the double S curve there, speed limit drops to 45 miles an hour shortly past Olga. But I tell you, when people see that sign off in the distance, they put the hammer down, and they're doing 65 by the time they pass Olga. So when I'm trying to pull out there and I do 60 miles an hour, I got cars right on my bumper. So it's a very hazardous situation. I think everybody here has seen this picture. It was part of the staff package. This is what Neal Communities promises to bring to our area. And I'm not a great speaker, so I'll just go ahead and read what I prepared. The word rural appears in the original application more than 80 times, and the phrase rural character has been used 22 times. Google defines rural as having the characteristics of a countryside rather than a town. Webster defines it more specifically as relating to country land, people, life, or agriculture. I oppose Neal Communities' proposed development because it will annihilate all of that. The Alva Vision of Lee County Comprehensive Plan states we'll make a concerted effort to ensure the development change in Alva occurs in a manner that maintains the rural character and lifestyle of our part of Lee County. On the surface, their goal aligns closely with Goal 33 of the North Olga Comprehensive Plan. It suggests the North Olga goal is to maintain and enhance rural character, natural resources, and agricultural lands in an ecologically, economically, and socially sustainable manner. So you see what these houses are going to look like. This is not something I made up. This is something that was presented to the staff. So what about this looks remotely rural to you? Nowhere can you find a description of rural that describes clustered housing or supports 1,099 dwelling units built on 788 acres as an example of rural character. The rural character of the land will be utterly destroyed by the so-called clustered meal housing and on 30 and 40-foot wide lots. And just to demonstrate, sorry for their theatrics, but I think this is important.
That is 30 feet. This is the width of the lot.
There's 30 feet. Now, there are many outbuildings in our part of the county that are bigger than 30 feet. So to build a house on that, I think is just ridiculous.
10 foot width.
Natural resources will be disrupted. Working farms into productive agricultural uses mentioned in the Lee County Comprehensive Plan will cease to exist with this community. The ecological impact on disturbing that much land cannot be quantified by anybody in the near or distant future, nor can a socially sustainability or introducing so many homes in an area already overtaxed public resources. The only part of Goal 33 that will be satisfied by going ahead with this development is the term economically. Sadly, in this case, economically is strictly a euphemism for maximizing profits. I'll wrap this up with saying that the USDA defines urban cluster as an area having a population of 2,500 or more. The population of the proposed development could easily exceed 3,000. So let's call Neil's plan what it is, urban sprawl. We don't want it in our neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today, sir. The next card I have is for Donna Lynn Moon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I live on Duke Highway, and I want to say I agree with all the community statements that were before me. The bridge, I wasn't going to speak about the bridge, but there have been numerous times, I didn't realize that the bridge was at the end of life. There have been numerous times where I've been traveling to go across the bridge and the traffic was at a complete standstill with dump trucks sitting on the bridge side by side, 4 dump trucks across. And I think that that's an issue that we're going to have to face. And I hope someday something doesn't happen before we have an opportunity to fix that, because we'll all be sitting here remembering what Darius was talking about. And I just think that that's a really huge safety hazard that we have that we should address. Today, I have a couple concerns for the property owners of record adjacent to the Duke, Cary, and Povia rezoning before us. They are regarding, and I hate to say the B word, but Bert J. Harris landowner rights and the Second Amendment constitutional rights. There will be several references to 1 acre per unit maximum density. This will become evident that 1 unit per acre is the only feasible land use option. There is a great significance to zoning, to this zoning designation with both Bert J. Harris and the Second Amendment. Adjacent neighbors have legal standing under Bert J. Harris to claim civil rights violations. The true foreseeable...
I'm going to interpose an objection once again. She's not qualified to give legal opinions, and I'm going to have object, and if it's
Certainly.
Did you all do a standing objection?
Okay. The administrative code just requires that any testimony that's provided is relevant to the request at hand. So if you can limit the scope and just again solidify that you are not an attorney trying to provide a legal opinion, but you're opining as an adjacent landowner, is my understanding. Is that the
Okay, I
nature?
am not an attorney, and this is just information. Do you know what I'd like to do, since this seems to be an issue? Can I submit this to you?
Certainly.
And have for your review? It will talk about Florida Statute 790.15, discharging a firearm in public on a residential property. The statute clearly defines this in subsection 4. I've got all of the information that will probably be relevant.
Can you explain? But can you explain the relevancy of those statutes to the zoning request that we're hearing today?
Well, if this high-density development comes in, there are shooting ranges that abut the development, and that will influence or affect the rights of the person.
Of the landowner? Again,
Of the landowner,
I'm
of the
trying
landowner.
to be sure. Okay.
Yes, of the landowner.
Yeah, Madam Hearing Examiner, I'm familiar with that statute, and what it prohibits them from doing is shooting over someone else's property that's residentially developed. One can question what right they have to shoot over someone else's property now, but that's not an issue that's germane to a zoning hearing.
Well, it will violate the sport shooting range section. It will impose a requirement for property owners exercising their Second Amendment rights to prove that they are not violating the Florida Statute 790.15, 4 and 4B. So I'd just like to, why don't I just submit this for your review, and I think that you'll find that there will be violations that will occur if we allow a high-density development to come in next to the rural community that we have of 1 acre plus lots.
Okay. If you can provide it to Maria. Thank you. Okay, the next card I have is for Michelle Burns. Is Michelle here? It's either Burns or Burks, I'm not sure. No? Okay. Dylan Cochran? Okay. Will he return? I have a feeling we're going to go into Friday potentially, so do you want me to keep his card in the stack? Okay. Linda Borchering? I apologize if I mispronounced the last name, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for listening to our concerns. Could you put back the original map, please? Thank you. My name is Linda Borchering. I live at 18901 Serenoa Court in Alva. Serenoa is the street that's right in the middle of the development, and our property would back up onto the community. And I agree with the points that have been made already in opposition. Lee County is a very unique place for its balance and blend of systems. And Alva is one of the last remaining agricultural communities in Lee County with its peaceful, natural, and preserved beauty. I'm concerned about the issues that overdevelopment of an area will bring to our community. I do not understand how the Neal development fits with our rural community. With the minimum lot sizes and the 2-family attached homes, that does not describe a rural environment. In addition to all the things that have been mentioned, I'm amazed no one's mentioned the animals yet. The gopher tortoises, the wood storks, the kites, the alligators. We enjoy those on a daily basis. And where there will be places that will preserve areas for them, it will change it too. So just the construction alone is going to drive a lot of those animals away. I've lived in Alva for 30 years, and I saw the changes that were made in Babcock. And, you know, I think it's such a loss of life for the animals. You know, what was once so beautiful is now just a concrete jungle. There have been a number of meetings for soliciting resident feedback. The community has almost been unanimous to keep Alva alive, to keep Alva as Lee County's rural community. However, the vote from the Board of County Commissioners has almost always been unanimous, with a negative vote against the desire of the majority of the Alva residents. When will government officials and developers have the common sense and wisdom to be responsible and do what is right for the community instead of catering to financial greed? Please protect the integrity and quality of our Alva life. Please keep the current zoning agricultural for our Alva community. Please don't pave our paradise to put in a parking lot or an overdeveloped community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today, ma'am. The next card I have is for Roxanne Gauss. Good afternoon.
It's just easier if you do it. Good afternoon. So I realize that, and I'm aware this is a zoning hearing, but I'm going to talk about wastewater. I did speak to one of the Lee County staff at one time about this issue, and he recommended that I bring it up to the hearing officer. So here we are. Okay, so real quickly, I am an environmental engineer. I'm retired. My originally first job, I worked for DEP, and I used to, I was a sanitary engineer, and I used to go and visit all the wastewater treatment plants in the area. It was a lot different in the early 90s than it is today. Okay, so basically my statement here and what I'm trying to give you is that we're sort of missing the forest for the trees. So basically the tree is this individual transaction, which seems pretty small compared to the size of Lee County. 1,100 houses, give or take, is not a really big development. 1.4 dwelling units per acre. It's on 788 acres, and the developer is paying for the utility expansion, meaning the pipe and the hookups. So hey, it sounds like a good deal. But there's a concern with the sanitary sewer. First, it's a destruction of a rural area. Nothing brings more development than water and sewer. The future density increases, that's a concern. The best example I can give to you is River Hall. I was involved originally, 20-some years ago when they were going to build River Hall, and there was a lot of arguments and discussions on the density, and finally there was an approved density. Well, since that day, 20 years ago, there has been 4 approved density increases, with including 8,000 more units. So I know that we have stated perfectly clear that this is going to be a conservation easement and that there's going to be no increased density. But I also know that, as the news press put a big article in there are loopholes for conservation easements, and there are ways that they can make changes in the future. And no offense, but like River Hall, I have no doubt that in 5 years or so, we will definitely be seeing a request for more density. And again, the piping of water sewer increases development. Okay, so, so here's the forest. So the Caloosahatchee River is contaminated. That is it's very close proximity to this site. In 2017, there was a 2-year BMAP study where it was discovered that there were very high levels of bacteria, nitrogen, and phosphorus in the water. And it was determined that human wastewater from septic systems, these are the conventional septic systems that in the early 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, when we installed septic tanks, we just did with whatever the ground was. There was no raising it up. There was no concern what the distance of dry soil between where the water from the drain fields go to. So there was, and our water table is extremely high. So during the summer months, those conventional septic systems basically sit in water. So the nitrogen and the phosphorus that comes from the food we eat and expel into through the toilets, that doesn't get to change, and it just stays in the groundwater and eventually hits the river, because that's pretty much where the groundwater flows in Lee County, either to the river or to the Gulf. It's always downhill. So Lee County met with, to meet the federal and state regulatory requirements. They were required to convert conventional septic tanks in these old homesteads to municipal wastewater treatment plant. There is a large study done by AECOM called Countywide Wastewater Management Plan in septic conversion. I think it cost over $700,000 to have that report done. I'm very sorry. Okay, so this Countywide Wastewater Management Plan stated in there were 2 BOCC workshops regarding this issue. One in 2019, I assume that's when they discovered the contamination. And then in 2023, which is when I did go to, where it shows that it is definitely polluting the water and what the county must do. So human wastewater is polluting the Caloosahatchee River. It causes high density residents with old, conventional, poorly designed and maintained septic systems. And I like to put pharmaceuticals were identified in the river because that's how they know it's human waste when they do these testing. So the results from this management plan study and what they submitted to DEP was that Lee County must convert 3,768 old septic systems to municipal sewer that are the source of the contamination by Florida statute. And of course, you're not just going to pick 3,000 homes, you're going to do the neighborhood. It's just more cost effective. Pipes got to connect to as many houses as they can. Also stated in this VOCC workshop, it was stated that Lee County Utilities recommended individual advanced treatment septic systems for rural areas east of I-75 and on the north side of the river. So the new septic systems we have are much different, and they can literally get the water that's disposed of it's advanced treatment. It's expensive, but they can do it. So Lee County Utilities recommended that in that report, or you can go to the workshop and you can hear that. So advanced treatment septic systems would keep Alva rural as Lee County North Olga plan requires. So this is also part of the forest. This is where it's really leading to. See, our municipal wastewater treatment plant problems. The wastewater treatment plant service area for the Cary+Duke property is the City of Fort Myers Central Wastewater Treatment Plant. Now it's great that they're paying for pipes to hook into it. Nobody talks about the plant itself and what's going on. So the City of Fort Myers Central Plant, which also includes the South Wastewater Treatment Plant, Lee County leases a percentage of the capacity for that plant. The reason why I'm combining the South plant is because at times their influent is overcapacity, so they literally put a pipe from the South plant to the Central plant, so they can send influent to the Central plant for treatment. So these two plants dispose 11 million, or at least Essential disposed 11 million gallons of treated effluent into the Caloosahatchee River. That's where they dispose of it. They also have reuse, which probably requires even higher, cleaner effluent than the one they dispose of the river. Don't quote me on that, but it's probably about the same. But it is used for reuse, so it has to be pretty clean. So, since 2021, and this report is probably 6 or 8 months old, so it might be even more. Since 2021, there's been over 70 FDEP consent orders. You know what a consent order is. They're in trouble, they have to go to DEP and explain to them why they've been bad, basically. In the past 4 years, this Fort Myers Central plant has spilled over 300,000 gallons of raw sewage and numerous discharges of high nutrient effluent into the river. That's documented. This next sentence, which occurred, is from a letter that I just got yesterday from DEP to the Central Plant, and regarding they have a long list of problems with this plant. And one of the statements they said, they want to discuss, this facility has chronic effluent exceedances. That means the water that's going outside of that plant is not to standards. And it goes into our river. So, then the second thing, in 2021, the CDM Smith Environmental Engineering Company did a capacity analysis report. A capacity analysis report is done every 5 years for every wastewater treatment plant in the state of Florida. And what they do is review it and see if they're getting close to capacity. This study results stated influent flows are projected to continue to remain below the permitted capacity of 11 million gallons per day through the year of 2028. And they exceed the permitted capacity in 2029. That's really less than 5 years. I'm not sure how much, it takes years for permitting and building wastewater treatment plants. And
Madam Hearing Examiner, at this point in time, I'm going to interpose an objection. While this is interesting, we're connecting to Lee County Utilities, and this is not germane to the zoning issues before you.
Can you tie it to the zoning
I'm sorry,
request?
I made a statement. Lee County Utilities leases a percentage of the capacity of these two plants. If you go look at the service area map for a wastewater treatment plant, it will show that your property, the property, River Hall and all, go to the central plant of Fort Myers or the south plant. Lee County does not have its own plant that services that area. That's who services us. So my point, I guess, here is, and I've been distracted, that yes, they're paying for pipes and stuff. They're going to send their waste to the central wastewater treatment plant, but then it's just going to flow back up the river. You're not really solving a problem here. So I want to talk about the river as part of the forest. The FDEP Caloosahatchee River is not getting cleaner. Its 5-year review was done in 2023. It said recent loading calculations for the Caloosahatchee River has shown an increase of 1.2 million pounds total nitrogen per year from the original starting load. So what we've been doing, it just hasn't been working yet. The river is getting worse. In the 2023 VOCC workshop, it was stated by the existing county manager at that time. The conclusion of the 2019 workshop was that the county commission didn't create those problems,
but we now own them, and we have an obligation to really get about the business of fixing these sources of pollution. By the continuous approval of high-density development and eliminating the rural communities, contamination will only increase in the Caloosahatchee River and increase the concern regarding the people's health and safety of Lee County. So our problem is not just affordable housing that we like to use for these increased developments. One of my main concerns is we need to make sure we have the treatment capacity and the money to convert the old neighborhoods that are a documented source of contamination for our river. It's documented. We know they are. We have to change those old conventional septic systems. But we need the money to do that, and we need the capacity in the plants, the existing plants we have now, until we eventually expand into additional wastewater treatment plants. We need to care about the health of our river, the safety of the people that live here because of the river contamination, and the economy that is dependent on the river. So please consider the people of Fort Myers and not just the latest developer's plan.
Thank you. The next card I have is for Terry Chadwell.
Well, I'm going to take all of about 2 minutes now.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Obviously, I reiterate almost everything that's been said here today. We are not opposed at all to the building if it maintains the zoning that is in place now. What I have seen, and I live 0.67 miles away from the projected project on Telegraph Creek, just to your east. So I am directly affected by what's going on here. My easy little 30-minute drive to work is now a good hour every morning. I think we all can remember that not long ago we had a gas leak at the end of 31 near 80. That morning it took me, I left my house at 6:45, I got to work at 9:30. And for a week, all of us were 3 hours late getting to work. Now what amazed me the most out of that was it didn't matter. We all had to go Bayshore. And Bayshore is backed up all the way to 31 or beyond. When I came home in the evening, whether it was 5:30, 6:30, 7 o'clock, we're all getting off on Bayshore. Everybody's going west. Nobody's going east. Didn't have the same problem going home as I had going the other way. So where's all that traffic coming from? You, sir, said North River Road cannot be widened. In traffic with North River Road, it cannot be widened. And what we have there is an issue. I live in a straightaway where the 45-mile-an-hour zone now is the first opportunity to pass. It's right east of the beginning of the S-curves. I've had 5 dump trucks go through my fence. I've had multiple fatalities in front of my home. It's not exactly something I want to come out and have to deal with. Being in the healthcare field, I do have to deal with it. I do have to come out. I do have to make sure people are okay, and we do have to call 911 and get help for these people. It's not their fault. We've got no passing zones. You guys have extended that recently and made it a little harder, but it's still first opportunity both directions for people to pass. And even though it is a 45 mile, it's now a super highway, as it was called earlier. I think in 2011, you'll have to correct me, I do not know that this is the accurate date, we lost our no-through designation, our no-through truck designation for Highway 78. It was a historic highway in the past. It's where you found motorcycles riding, we found horses going up and down the sides of the roads, getting to the parks, or going from one farm to another to ride together. You don't see horses on the side of North River Road anymore. Still see a few motorcycles on weekends, but that's not actually safe anymore. I'm a motorcycle rider and haven't been on my bike in a year. I won't ride on a Saturday or a Sunday anymore out there. I can't mow my ditch on a Saturday or a Sunday anymore. I waited this morning for probably 30 vehicles, mostly dump trucks and semis, going by my driveway at 70 miles an hour. I'm all for supporting your 788 homes at 1-to-1. But we've got a little issue with traffic, and until we deal with that, you have a certain obligation to protect the residents that you're putting in that property. You're proposing that you move your entrance to the east of that property. Well, that puts you right in the heart of where all this traffic is moving at 70 miles an hour. It's not the small little country road that it used to be. I've lived there for 25 years. I've owned the property for 30. I used it as a weekend place before I built, but it is not the same. Mr. Neal politely introduced himself to me this morning and asked me if I was here to support you.
Madam Hearing Examiner, can I have to ask the witness to direct her comment to you and not to Mr. Neal?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Neal introduced himself to me this morning and asked me if I was here to support him. I said I would happily support him at 788, but I could not support any more. I've also been a long-standing member of the Veranda Country Club. It's where I like to play golf. It used to take me 10 minutes to get there. Now I make sure I leave 30 minutes before I want to get there to actually make it. Neal Communities is finishing the last build-out of that association, or at the Veranda right now. I've been looking in the Veranda for homes. The older homes that were built in there actually have elbow room. They're nice. They were built by Bonita Bay. I can buy one of those houses. I can move there. I could not buy a Neal home at this point in time because of the lack of respect that we have been shown in District 5. You know, it's obvious through the last session that District 5 does not support this at all, but yet no one seems to care. Now, I really needed to be somewhere else today, but I've sat here all day in order to speak for 5 minutes because I'm not going into legal, so you don't have to really get upset with me. It's just, it's common sense. It's basic. We can't do this out there anymore. We can't widen our road. We can't control our traffic. If we could get our no-through truck designation back, we might become safe again. But right now, we just have semis and dump trucks running the road at 70 miles an hour. That's not safe for anyone. So, thank you for your time, and I appreciate you allowing everyone the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today. The next card I have is for William Redfern. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I arrived late and was not sworn in.
Thank you. If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will provide is the truth?
It is.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. My name is William Redfern. Oh, just a minute. I was just establishing my competence a little bit with the council. I have here a notice to surrounding property owners. So I am a surrounding property owner to the subject property. I have been in the movement to preserve our area for years and years. And I've noticed some changes. Originally, when I got into this, I noticed that the county was really inviting, with open arms, public input. They even provided dollars, grants for planning panels to develop their own community plans so that the people in the area would have kind of a say-so and an idea of what their future would be like. And some wanted more increase in density. Yes, there are places in the county that would like increases in density. There were other places, like my home place, that did not want increases in density, and the overwhelming public citizenry was that way. Now, there were a lot of stories that went on, but at any rate, we didn't get it into the North Olga Community Plan, okay? However, I can assure you that the people of my region that I live in, and I live right on Duke Highway, I live on 14651 Duke Highway. My property, back of my property adjoins a piece of property that Mr. Cary and his family are going to retain for their homestead, which abuts the property in question here that the applicant, Mr. Neal, is trying to densify. So, but I noticed a change, and I'm noticing the change today, and that was that instead of inviting the public to have input, there seems to be a shift. Keep them away from you. They talk too much. They're just the darn citizens, and we really need to listen to these hired experts to testify how they're meeting all these wonderful demands from how Lee County people really want to live in the future. That's not the sense I get. When I talk to people and I tell them where I live in Alva and north of the river, they say, that is so beautiful out there. That is so cool. You live in the best area in Lee County. You know, and you used to hear that if you lived at Fort Myers Beach when it was so beautiful before the hurricane wiped it out. Or downtown Fort Myers is another beautiful place. And our area, North Olga, is a jewel. It's a jewel, and people love it. Citizens outside our area envy that we live here. Makes Mr. Cochran pretty happy because he can sell some houses out there, I guess. Now, I want to, I don't want to get into a little tiff here with the legal counsel that has been hired by Mr. Neal to be here. I thought you were county staff at first. I was corrected on that. Thank you for that information. You are hired to represent Mr. Neal, and you have interrupted some of us several times. I hope you don't interrupt me. I'm going to tell you my legal definition of the case I'm going to present, and that is not beyond a shadow of a doubt as used in criminal law, but what is a reasonable person led to believe with the facts before them. To me, that's the evidence that you do today and that we need to present, and has been presented, by the way. So my questions, I guess, that I have, and I include these questions still for Mr. Danley and the county staff too, please listen in very closely. I would like the applicant to really present compelling evidence to us, and that is reasonable evidence that an increase of 311 homes on this piece of land will enhance the emergency response time beyond a vague assurance that I heard that that's a long-term goal. If I have a heart attack tonight, okay, but if I have a heart attack in a couple of years, is that going to slow down the response time to get to me or my neighbors? I'm 78 years old, possible, I guess. My next question is, how does increasing the density by 311 homes enhance the ability of the public to properly evacuate in a potential hurricane or flood of Ian-type proportions? I don't see it. I see it being much more difficult to safely vacate the area if this county orders me out of there. I don't know if I'm going to make it out. I'll leave earlier. how does the density increase of 311 homes on this property enhance the rare and endangered or threatened wildlife? They say we've got 9% of that property left is indigenous. Well, things are holding on by a thread now. And 51 acres are wetlands. The caracara, the gopher tortoises, all of those are going to be negatively impacted by this development. Even if you put 788, it's gonna be a problem. But 311 more, 1,099, is more impactful to those critters. How does the applicant plan to address this increase in irrigation? Okay, they're saying, well, we're gonna have a lake and we're gonna pull it out and we're gonna irrigate that land. You've heard expert testimony from people who've talked about fertilizers and composts that are dangerous to our river, dangerous to my property. I live on the good part of Otter Creek, okay? If you look in your schematic, I live on the green portion of Otter Creek that has not been ditched, okay? When that property was ditched some years ago, and that was every right of that agricultural family to do that, every right, because it was improved pasture land. But I noticed an increase in silting of my creek that goes diagonally through my couple of acres, and I noticed an increase in exotics that I would remove myself. That is going to increase. By the way, monthly, we will have 2 young ladies who come to the, on Duke Highway, and they test our water quality in Otter Creek. I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know why they're doing that. Because, what, you're just keeping records? It means that they think that this creek, these little inflows are important to preserve. And so I would even ask Neal community, whatever you do, to improve Otter Creek. Maybe try to restore it. You know, the headwaters of Otter Creek come out of Conservation 2020 land across Highway 78. They go through a culvert and they come in, and then they run into you know, the cow pond and then the ditch. Let's improve that. Hey, would that not enhance the saleability of your homes to have a beautiful creek flowing through your property? Let's think imaginatively instead of meeting the bottom line or the shallow end of the slide rule on this thing. How does the addition of 311 homes decrease traffic congestion? What Ms. Terry was just talking about. We're killing people now without anything there. Well, we'll kill more people with 788 homes, but we'll dang sure kill more people with 1,099 homes in that development. Killing people, your citizens. It's bad enough that you make it a little bit hard for us to testify and feel welcome to testify and not be challenged by private counsel. And finally, in this little section, what is the legal rationale in any reasonable person's definition of rural character to say that the addition of these homes enhances the rural character? Nonsense, and you know it. You know that's true. I had, when I talked to Mr. Danley and several of my neighbors were with me, we asked for 8 issues. He has a copy of that. He knew all about it. And we asked for some setbacks from Duke Highway. What is that now? What is that number? May I ask that question of staff? Am I allowed to do that?
The setback.
Oh, was it 170? Did I hear that correct?
That's
That
correct.
they're going to put the setback from Duke Highway to 170?
Yes, that was the testimony earlier
Is that
today.
correct?
Yes, sir, that was
Yeah,
the
okay.
testimony earlier
Okay.
today.
And that's good. I see that as an improvement, thank you. But I looked at that little schematic that was presented about the plantings. Holy smokes, let's beef that up. Let's get some privacy for those people who'll be looking into Mr. Neal's community there. Let's beef that up. There's a little couple twigs along the way it looked like. It was terrible. Let's do the job correctly there, whether it's, whatever it is. I want to talk about public input at meetings. This has been alluded to already. This community and the opinion of the community is important. It is important. We are the receiving neighbors of the new folks coming in. We had meetings, many meetings with the Neal people. One meeting I call the TARP meeting. We were behind the Cracker Shack. They had tarp up there. It was July. Man, it was hot. I felt sorry for the Neal people having to present. I felt sorry for the 75, 80 of us that were sitting out there. Overwhelming. I wrote it down in my notes. 75 people protested and spoke to the Neal staff. 3 were in support. Same 3, by the way, that spoke later in support at the LPA. I counted them. And when we spoke up, Miss Ivory, I can't remember her last name, Ivory Matthews said, look, we are a suburban footprint community, and that's what we do, and that's a quote, verbatim. Well, I thanked her, because it was real clear now what we were dealing with. We were not dealing with some enhancement of rural character really anymore. Nobody believed that anymore. It was, cat was out of the bag. I've been to several North Olga planning panel meetings, overwhelming support of keeping the area rural. I've been to an LPA meeting, similar statistics, 75 people against the plan, and the LPA, against the, water and sewer, because many misunderstood and thought this was also the density increase. Oh no, they said, this is not the density increase, that'll come later. This is just to introduce water and sewer to that property. Well, we all kind of knew where that was going to lead. It was going to lead to here today and beyond. We don't want the density increase. We do not want that to happen. That has been the whole crux of this. Some of the other embellishments they might do, I think they have to do. I don't think they can just throw up 788 houses and not preserve some land and some wildlife. I don't think they can just drain wetlands. I don't think they're allowed to do that. Maybe, yeah. Unless, do you have to give them the density increase for them to do these things? That's a rhetorical question. I don't expect an answer. But do we have to, are they holding a gun to our head and saying, well, you know, this is what we're going to do, but we won't do it if it's 788? Once again, I'm a long-time resident. I've lived on my property 46 years. I have worked hard to preserve my little part of Otter Creek and keep wildlife running through. On my way here this morning, I had a bobcat run right in front of me. I love that bobcat. Ran right in front of me in my driveway as I was going out. It's a paradise. It is a desirable place for people to live. Leave it that way for us. Leave it that way for the other citizens who would like to come out and use this bike path they're talking about. This multi-use path. That would be great. Great. Have that run all the way into Alva and beyond, connect it along 31 and into Bayshore and North Fort Myers. Fantastic, like other cities do all over America. That's where our heads should be. How can we improve the lifestyle for everybody in the county? Not cater to an out-of-town developer who apparently needs this to make, you know, better money. I understand that. I don't oppose that. I don't oppose that. These developers that are coming in, they're not my enemy, but they are my opponents right now. And I just invite them to reason with us, kind of develop some things more along the lines that Mr. Cochran was showing us on the screen, that's more in touch with the character of where we live. And I just really thank you. There's probably more things I'd like to say, but I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today, sir. So with that, it is almost 4:30, so we will convene for today. We're going to reconvene Friday morning at 9 a.m. in this room. So if you have already spoken, there is not an opportunity to speak again, but I still have a number of cards here for folks that have not yet spoken that I will call then. And if there are other folks that you know that wanted to speak and couldn't come today, they're welcome to come on Friday. After we close public hearing, then it will come back to the applicant and the staff, and then we would conclude prior to the board hearing. So thank you everyone for coming today. Please stay safe and stay well, and we will see you Friday at 9 a.m.